Hey, everybody. Today we have for you podcast number 115. Today's podcast is titled, Are You Being Squeezed? Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of your weekly Limitless Life Network podcast. We are Dr. Pete and Sandy Lombardi, and this is the Limitless Life Network podcast where we flesh out the limitations that are preventing you from reaching your goals and living the life that you are called to lead. And today we have a special word of gratitude, Sandy. Why is it so special?
Yes, because it's Thanksgiving week.
Yes, it's the week of Thanksgiving, and we decided that this is the time to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to the podcast as we do each and every week. But this is a special week because we're actually recording on Sunday instead of our normal Tuesday recording, because we figured on Tuesday we'd probably be pretty busy getting ready for Thanksgiving this year. So thank you. Thank you for sharing last week. I noticed a bunch of you shared the podcast on your Facebook profiles and some nice comments through YouTube and Facebook. So super thank you. I know hitting the like button is easy to do too, but also just sharing it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, got feedback from my good friend Melissa that we always give her something to think about, she said, which is good.
That's good. We want to keep you thinking, Melissa.
Hope you're getting a big buck today.
Yeah. So, yeah. This week's topic is a pretty good one. I think this goes really hand in hand with this week of Thanksgiving. It'll give everybody a lot to think about because I think it's pretty applicable, to everyday life. So, yeah, what's our backstory today?
Well, we kind of, on the way to church, you were sharing about this being squeezed concept you had heard. And then the guest speaker at church hit on some points. And I was like, on the way home, like, that really ties into what we were talking about for our message. So we kind of compiled this on the way home and fleshed it out this afternoon. So,
well, it was interesting because I think I was sitting in church thinking the same thing Sandy was, that this is going to, everything we talked about on the car ride and to church and everything at church and everything on the way back from church kind of said, you know what, today would be the best day to do this podcast so that it's fresh in our minds and ready for you. So point number one is what comes out from the squeeze. And I caught this somehow. I don't know if it was a reel that I saw, but it was from somebody else. So I didn't think of this myself. I'm not that creative. Like I always say, we are curators of information. Mm-hmm. So it's not that any of this stuff comes directly from us. It's just that we want to share what's good and pass it on to you. So, Sandy, if you were to squeeze an orange, what comes out of an orange?
Orange juice.
Oh, nice, good. If you squeeze a lemon, what do you get?
Hopefully lemon juice.
Okay, so if you squeeze an orange, can you get lemon juice out? No. Why can't you get lemon juice out of an orange?
It's just not what's inside an orange.
Exactly. So the point here is that when we get squeezed, what comes out of us? So when we get squeezed, what's a squeeze? Well, a squeeze is something that can trigger you, something that stresses you, something that makes you want to react. And what comes out? Does anger come out? Does rage come out? Does jealousy come out? Does envy come out? Because sometimes people say things that really rub you the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And this happened to me about a week ago. Mm-hmm. And somebody sent me a text message about a week ago, and the message was not nice. It was like, it wasn't what I was going to expect to see given the circumstances. And I thought, well, why? I can't believe he said that. And so I immediately started to think about it. And I'm like, what can I say back to him to correct him? And I even typed this all out, and I was all ready to send it. And something in me said, don't send that. That's not going to do any good. Mm-hmm. And I realized, you know what? I need to delete this right now before I do send it. And I erased it, and then I sat on it, and I thought, wait a second. I'm being squeezed right now. And if I sent that, then that would have been nothing but, a
Fuel.
reaction. It would have been fuel, and it would have created nothing good out of it. And I said, but right now I need to practice grace. I need to practice, some self-control, and I need to, think about this. Okay, what is that person experiencing? What are they feeling? I can see why they sent this now, because they're probably jealous. They're probably a little frustrated, right? And so they sent something that was their emotional response. And it wasn't that they meant any ill intention or anything bad by it, but I could have taken it that way and very easily, and I would have been justified for doing so. And I even would have been backed up by other people, but that still, at the end of the day, would have been a bad look, right? It would have been a bad look, and it would have been a bad outcome. But more importantly, it made me think, like, who am I representing here? This is not that reaction would not have been a good representation of Jesus, who's in my heart, right? Because that's not what his reaction is to those things.
Well, and my takeaway watching that last weekend was observing it as wife and mom, and watching the kids watch you, how you were going to respond. And what a teaching lesson it was to them, and even adult children, just because it was sort of an attack on one of our children, really. And watching you not fight back with fuel that you could have been justified in showing our son how to demonstrate grace, even though it may not have been deserved. And that's the big picture of Christianity, right? Like, we don't deserve the grace we've been given. And I said, one of the things I shared with our son was, that's the reason your dad is able to stay in relationship with this individual, because he doesn't get ignited, by the things that come unfiltered. So, because he just steps back, pauses, breathes, and has grace, and just so it works.
Yeah. So, that's a point for you to think about, like, as life squeezes you and the stress comes on you and things can hit you, and it can happen very quickly. And so can you recognize it for what it is and dial it back and say, I got to practice some self-control. I need some more grace. I need to give this person some grace and some latitude, and choose my words carefully if I am to respond, and so that it comes across with love. So anyway, that's point number one, and that's kind of really the stepping stone for the rest of the points for today. So think about that. Remember that, at least, about when you get squeezed, what comes out. And so that brings us to point number two.
We were talking we were riding up to Inlet together Friday and listening to a podcast, and then this today in church, we kind of got on to like this. So part number two, beware of the echo chamber. So, like, what are you letting fill yourself, fill your mind, fill your heart? And is it this same rhetoric from the same sources, or are you open to hearing from other sources? And
well, it's just really interesting because there's certain content that I listen to that my wife is totally not really interested in, and I think there was a point I wasn't really interested in either. Except sometimes they have really good guests on there that I do want to hear about, and so now I've gotten used to that format and how it all goes, and it's a long format, so it's a long conversation. But anyway, I could tell she was not connected with it at all. It was kind of good too, because I just turned it off, and sometimes it's good to have somebody else listen to what you're listening to as a barometer for maybe this isn't always good to listen to, right? Because they're listening to it, and maybe there's not such, and you have to recognize it for what it is. But in this particular podcast, they were talking about ancient civilizations, and they were talking about moving big objects and technology and so forth. And they were talking about always being open to possibilities and so forth. But at the same time, they were not open to very much any type of information historically from the Bible. They almost, put it in as like a footnote that they didn't quite understand. And because science couldn't explain it, they weren't really going to go down that road very far. It was very superficial, like an acknowledgement, but yeah, that's okay. And really like, I don't really believe the whole Noah's Ark and God flooding the world and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I thought you were open to, all possibilities. So it made me question this echo chamber that those people live in, right? Because yes, they're open to certain things unless it starts to push them in a direction that they don't necessarily want to go. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, whether it be a news channel that you listen to, a certain podcast, or, does it kind of like, are you fueled to keep watching it because it ignites this like frustration in you and angst, and like what type of emotion and feeling is it bringing about in you? Like,
Well, it's funny because there's a comedian that talks about his father and how he'll watch Fox News all night long until he gets so upset that he can't watch it anymore and goes to bed. Right. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's like this echo chamber. And then you get so worked out and you get so mad at the television set that you have to go to bed because you can't take it anymore. So if what you're listening to do produces stress, anger, jealousy, disharmony, envy, division, there's a possibility that maybe that's not really coming from the Word of God, just a slight possibility. Yeah. But anyway, that's point number 2, beware of echo chambers. Mm-hmm. So that brings us to
point number 3, relationship phases. And this was something else kind of on our car ride we were talking about. I think I'm at a little bit of a challenging point with Grace. She's a young teen girl. She just she's 13 and a half, actually. And all of a sudden, when I walk in the room, she walks to a different room. And we were kind of reminiscing and laughing, but taking a life lesson here. Like when she was little, he's like, you used to complain she was your shadow. Like I turn around and step on her because she was like right behind me all the time.
This wasn't just when she was little. This was like last year.
I know.
This was literally last year. Sandy was saying to me, I just can't seem to get a break from Grace. She's with me all the time.
Yeah. Well, now I want that back because now she doesn't want anything to do with me now. Well, a little bit that's true. And so we were saying, like, as new believers, like, we're just so hungry for more information, and you're just, wanting more and more of what God has for you, right? And then we hit this teenage stage where we think we know more than our adult parents or maybe God, we think. And we're like, well, we wait for that to come around. So you get to your adult stage and hopefully come back to liking your parents again and thinking maybe they have more wisdom than you thought. And I think that's true. As we mature in our faith, we realize there's so much wisdom from whether it be parents, senior people in your church, in your life that really have a lot of wisdom to pour into you.
Yeah, I personally remember going through this as a child and being like, when you're young and you're new, all you know is your family because that's who's with you, that's taking care of you all the time. And then as you become more independent, all of a sudden you have this self-confidence. And now we learn that we start to trust ourselves and the wisdom that we know. But when we do that, we're not open for any new wisdom from our elders or our parents. Mm-hmm. And then as we get older and we start making mistakes, our family still loves us. And now we're longing for a little bit of a relationship back. We didn't realize how good we had. I remember doing that and being like, wow, my family still loves me after all of this that I screwed up. And I was such a mess in my teen years. And then now I look at, as we get older, and I even look at your father and how he longs to be around family. And at Thanksgiving time every year, he gets so choked up when he looks around the table because he sees the generations of his family, and it just makes him so full of gratitude. And I hope you all get to experience that this year. Mm-hmm. But that's our relationship with God, is that he, as a parent, we always want our kids to want to be with us. We really do. And we want them to, have a relationship with us. And it doesn't have to be like you're with me all the time, but I want my kids to be able to have open communication with me. And that's what God's looking for. Is He's looking for this relationship where we have this open line of communication.
Yeah.
And with that is the opportunity to learn how this Spirit can come inside of you and express this fruit that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that brings us to point number 4, which is really the treasure map. So the treasure map is, if you remember, like the pirates and stuff, like they were always looking for buried treasure. So I've got the map, and on the map it says what? If you
follow this clue,
if
you'll
you
lead you
follow this
here.
line, you'll get to this island, and then if you get to here and you see this rock face, then turn left and and there's a whole thing that takes you on a scavenger hunt, and hopefully you're going to find this buried treasure. And I know that what we heard in church today really talked about this, because he read from Proverbs chapter 2. If you have that with you or no?
Yeah, I do.
But it's really about all these if-thens, and it's really about what's the treasure. So go ahead, why don't you read that?
So starting in Proverbs 2, my child, listen to what I say and treasure my commands. So he gives these different commands. Tune your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding. Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. Search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. Then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain knowledge of God. For the Lord grants wisdom. From out of his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He grants a treasure of common sense to be honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. He guards the path of the just and protects those who are faithful to him. Then you will understand what is right, just, and fair, and you will find the right way to go. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will fill you with joy. Wise choices will watch over you. Understanding will keep you safe. So this is, like we talked about if and then. So if we kind of break back into it, if we listen, so if we have an ear to listen to his wisdom, if we cry out to him for understanding and seek it, right? Like that means getting in his word, getting involved with those you might gain wisdom from, then you will understand and have the knowledge of God. So he's promising these things, but it's like in church he was saying, if you find you're in a situation in life right now where you don't understand why things are going their way, or you want something different, then go back, because he promises to give you understanding of that and to walk with you through that. So go back and do these like your part. So if I seek him, if I listen, if I, what else would it be?
Well, the big one is seek.
Yeah.
Right? So the big one that he talks about here is search for them as you would for silver, seek them like hidden treasure. That really got me thinking about this whole treasure map thing. And there, Matt Burdick today in church, he talked about this TV show, and I knew what he was talking about. Nobody admitted to watching it, and it's something about the mysteries of Oak Island or something like Oak Island. Anyway, it's these guys that have been searching for this lost treasure that they think pirates buried on Oak Island somewhere up north, somewhere in the islands off of Canada, and they've spent exorbitant amounts of money and time looking for so-called buried treasure or whatever is out there. And the level of effort that they have put into trying to find treasure that is very likely not probable, and probably not, even if it is found, it's not going to make their lives any so much different, but yet they're going after it like maniacs. And you can think about the gold rush that took place back in the 1800s, where everybody went to Alaska looking for gold and so forth. And so maybe it's the early 1900s. I don't even know when that was. So my point is, like, what's our effort level that is put into seeking God's word? Like we've talked about discipline and all that stuff in the past, but literally effort level. If you're really trying to discern something that can give you something so important like this peace and this wisdom and understanding, especially in times of stress and trouble, and a world that's not full of a lot of unity, and there's a lot of jealousy and envy and anger and all these things going on in this world. If you want something to combat it, well, isn't it worth seeking it? Isn't it worth putting in the effort like you would be searching for buried treasure? And it's available to you, but you have to put in the work, and you have to literally put some extra work in. The more work you put in, the more likely you are to find it and to be able to put it into an applicable form.
Right.
So yeah, that's the treasure map. So think about that. Take notes. Do your research.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to point number 5, which is
Being grateful for the squeeze.
grateful for the squeeze. So, it is Thanksgiving, and practicing gratitude is always a good thing. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving, but it draws our attention to being grateful. And we are grateful for our God that we serve. We're grateful for our families. We're grateful for you, our listener. But what about the squeeze, the things that put stress on you? Because if you truly allow God to come into your heart and replace all those ugly things, those dark things, with what He has to put inside of you, when you get squeezed, you will have the fruits of the Spirit, which are love, their joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I mean, that's what will come out of you. So I just pray for everybody that this year is a year that you're just full of these things, that they're on the inside of you, and that as you get squeezed, you're grateful for the squeeze because it's an opportunity for those things to come out, and that becomes your witness. That becomes your testimony for the world to see that all this goodness that's inside of you, it didn't come from you, it came from God, because on your own, it's hard to really come up with all that every day, all the time. But a God that we serve can fill you with an endless amount of that. And in the scripture, it says, against such things there is no law, which means that you can have an overflowing abundance of it. And I kept thinking of just like a waterfall overflowing, like Niagara Falls, that just has seemingly an endless supply of water that just keeps rushing over the falls. That's the amount of goodness that God wants to put inside of you. And that's what I pray for all of you for this Thanksgiving and for your future to come. So I think that's all I got to say. Anything you want to add?
Well, I was just thinking, if you're feeling the squeeze, someone else has been through that, feeling the same squeeze or a different squeeze. So just extending grace and love. So, I think even for someone who you might feel doesn't deserve it, neither did we, right? And so just extending that this coming season and understanding, possibly, maybe you don't even understand or fully grasp what someone else has been through, like what their squeeze has been through their life, but understanding that they have a story too. So,
yeah, thanks. That's awesome. Well, that's a wrap for this week's edition of your weekly Limitless Life Network podcast. Be sure to tune in each and every week so you can stay connected, be inspired, to keep moving toward your best life by stripping away your limitations. We will see you back
Happy Thanksgiving
next week. Happy Thanksgiving.